My proposal is to develop a musical email application for the iPhone known as Emoticon. Social interaction and communication have undergone dramatic changes within the past few decades. As remarkable as the advances are, there are many limitations as well, especially in text-based online communication such as email, which lacks the social components of face-to-face interaction. This project uses music as a way to address this issue. The purpose of this project is to create a musical email application for the iPhone that enhances and clarifies the emotion of emails through the use of original music. The music will fit each specific emotion that the user wants to portray in the email. The review of the literature is broken up into three different components. One is the emotional limitations of text-based online communication. Secondly, I'll discuss current iPhone applications that attempt to address the limitations. It's also necessary to discuss if and how music can communicate specific emotions. Regarding the emotional limitations of text-based online communication such as email, Daft and Langle proposed the information richness theory. And this theory basically states that information is lost through email because of the lack of social cues and other elements in social interaction. Some argue that email users can make up for the lack of social cues through context and intuition. However, very little research has been done in a social context. Most of the research is limited to the workplace. Furthermore, Park points out that the online tools available that represent these missing social components proves that email itself isn't enough. The question then becomes, what current iPhone applications attempt to address the limitations? And there are two. One is mood tunes, in which users can select a mood and it will play music from their existing library that matches their selection. However, this is not a social application and doesn't really seek to help in communication. Another app is RedNote, and RedNote offers a way to browse and attach specific songs to text messages through an included link. So while it's social in nature, one of the problems with it is that it depends on song lyrics to match the music to the intended emotion of the text message. And so it doesn't truly rely on music itself to communicate emotion. This is why the third component of the literature review deals with if and how music communicates emotions. Sloboda and Jesslin outline many theories in their book Music and Emotion about how music represents specific emotions. Symbol theory argues that music causes emotions because of the associations that people have with it. For example, the organ sounds religious. Unlike that, expression and arousal theories attribute it to people, so the emotions in the expression theory are caused by the composer's emotions, whereas in the arousal theories, the emotions are caused by the performer's emotions. In contrast, universalism argues that certain musical characteristics universally mean specific emotions or represent specific emotions. This is supported by a lot of different research. The conceptual design of this project favors universalism over the other theories, and is specifically based on Cook's book, The Language of Music, in which he attributes the emotional connection of music to the music itself. One argument, for example, is based on physics, how specific notes hit the human ear. And going further, he says that 600 years of Western music is based on the harmonic series, saying that nature itself sets up its own harmony, basically. I'll be designing the musical compositions for this project based on Cook's research primarily. He breaks musical elements into three different categories of pitch, time, and volume, and claims that we can manipulate these to emulate specific emotions. He splits these emotions into two types, saying that pleasure emotions are represented by music in the major key, and pain emotions are represented by music in the minor key. He gives a lot more detail about specific intervals in different contexts, and I'll be basing the music off of those details. The specific emotions that music will be written for will be based on popular emoticons currently used. The project content involves 15 different emoticons, or musical emoticons. These are 5 to 10 second musical passages that were composed for each specific emotion they're intended to represent. There are two additional goals involved in the project content, and one is to increase the overall appreciation and use of music in everyday social interaction. And secondly, this project serves the potential to earn a profit. The project sequence begins when the user downloads the application from the Mac App Store. When the user navigates to the application in their iPhone and taps it, the application opens with a welcome screen. Once the application loads, all 15 emoticons will be visible. When the user taps once, they can see the name of the emoticon on the top left. When they tap twice, they can select that specific emoticon. Once they select a specific emoticon, such as Sneaky for example, the music will play as a preview to them, and they can either go back and select a different emoticon, or they can choose Add Emoticon to begin their email. When they choose Add Emoticon, the email opens up having automatically attached the musical passage for that emoticon. They simply fill out their email and send it as they would a normal email. Once the application sends the email, the user has a choice to send another emoticon or to close the application. If they choose to close the application, they'll get a screen thanking them for using Emoticon, the musical emoticon. To create this project, my main hardware will be a MacBook Pro, an Axiom Pro 49 keyboard for the MIDI controller, and an iPhone. The main software will be Xcode 3 because Xcode is the kind of software available to amateur Mac developers, and I'll be using Pro Tools LE version 8 to record the music. I'll also be using Photoshop for the graphics due to its professional capabilities. For the composition component, I'll be using 4 of the East-West Quantum Leap sample libraries, and these will include Symphonic Orchestra, Quantum Leap Pianos, Storm Drum 2, and Gypsy. The pilot study will be designed to test the overall functionality of the application and to see if the music is perceived to match the intended emotions. To test this, I'll have 10 individuals use the application for no more than 5 minutes, and then they'll take a questionnaire. The success of this project will be based on the questionnaires from the pilot study and whether or not the Mac App Store accepted the application for sale. The total estimated hours in the project timeline are 265. The bulk of this time will be taken by recording the sound samples at about 100 hours. The second most time-consuming portion will be the coding, totaling about 90 hours. And the rest of the time will be devoted to analysis, the final report, and other details. Thank you for listening to my proposal. Please feel free to ask me any questions.